Joining us this morning, a small business owner, Trump voter, Bob Fleischer. Bob, as a small business owner, what did you hear last night from the president's message that means something to you and your business?
Well, I get the fact that he wants to help small business owners and business in general do better. But it seems like he's in campaign mode to me as opposed to getting things done. And I think that's hurting us a lot. I mean, I think he really needs to take some of the easy victories that he said he was going to be able to grab and get them moving and get that tax reform going, get the health care going. Those are the things I'd rather see him working on as opposed to now it seems to me like he's campaigning. I don't think he needs to be doing that right now. Well, you're going to get, I predict that you're going to get a lot of hate on Twitter for saying that, even as a Trump supporter. Yeah. And I want to raise this with you. That is the issue, that if you're a conservative, even if you're a Trump supporter, and you take issue with anything or are critical of anything that the president does, that his most ardent supporters rain down hate on you, as much, quite frankly, as much hate as you might get from liberals. Yeah, I think there's definitely a division in the Republican Party right now with that. And I think the people he's forgetting about as he keeps digging deeper and deeper into his base are people like myself. I voted for him because I didn't want to vote for Hillary, number one. I thought he was going to be very pro-business, number two, which I think he's still going to try to do. And I think that's where his victories are going to be coming from. But I think there's a division in the party right now. And if he doesn't keep people like myself, I think he's going to have a problem. And going forward, I think the best thing he could be doing is supposed to be out there working his base, which he's already got, is to get things done and get some big accomplishments, and then he'll get reelected if that's really what's on his mind still. I mean, he's got to get some stuff done. I think the rules and regulation changes are definitely a good start. I think those things being relaxed will help the banking industry, which will loosen them up a little bit, which will loosen up lending, which trickles down. Those are good things. But he's got some big things that he can get done that if he works hard at and does a little more cajoling in Congress, I think he could get them done and he would look pretty good. And keep the people like myself who are more business-oriented and keep also his base, which I think he wants to keep. But he doesn't want to lose the people like myself that help get him elected as well, in my opinion.
Bob, hi. This is Mercedes Schlapp. Do you think Washington is capable of passing tax reform? We saw the debacle with health care reform in Congress. Do you think that the Congress is capable of passing this legislation?
I do. I think it's going to be an easier win for them than health care. I wish they had done it first. I think there's more general consensus that our tax code is a mess. We pay the highest taxes corporately, more so than anybody in the world, I believe. Half of my income goes to taxes right now, and I think if I had it in my pocket, I could do a lot of good with it. And right now, I can't. You know, it's always, my biggest single expense is taxes, and I don't think that's a good thing for the country.
Bob, Kirsten Hagland here. About a week ago, in response to Charlottesville, there were multiple CEOs that left Donald Trump's two business councils. He then disbanded those. As a small business owner, obviously I know that those are much larger companies and have specific focus areas. But what was the trickle down from those CEOs leaving and the pressure that businesses face from being associated with President Trump and his message? Do you think that there are going to be more and more people like you who are trying to maybe distance themselves for their business sake, or are they staying on board no matter what and really trying to support this president as he tries to push tax reform? What's the fallout going to be from last week's CEOs?
I don't know if there's fallout from those very large corporate CEOs to somebody like myself who runs local businesses for the most part. I think going forward, I think people like myself want to see the president win. It did hurt a little bit when you see all these heads of chieftains of industry leaving right after it was put together and before they even really got going. I think they need to put that behind him. I think if he can do some positive things, he can get business right back into his corner. I think most of us want him to win, hope he can win, and if he can get the right policies in place, we'll win. But it's going to take some work, and he's going to have to change his style a little bit, in my opinion, to get things done as opposed to all these sidebars that he seems to be working with.
Bob, it's Mike Murphy. I agree with the points you're making almost across the board. I also support the president. I also run a business, and I want him to succeed. I want the U.S. to succeed. But I feel like my biggest concern is that the president seems to be fighting on too many fronts, that he needs to go after people and bring them to behind him as the leader of our country. And that means, as you know, as a business owner, a negotiation a lot of times is giving in. It's not getting everything you want. It's giving in on certain points to bring people behind you. I was wondering if you could speak to that, because I think that's really what we need from the president right now, is to have people fall in line behind him as a leader.
Totally agree. I think he's got a lot of personal issues that he seems to be taking out and in public, which, again, I always thought stuff like that should be done in private. You praise in public and you scold in private, privately. And he's got so many things going on, and he's fighting so many battles. If he would just concentrate on some of the main issues and follow through and work hard on those, I think the country would be a lot better off. I think he's just going in way too many directions right now.
Bob, I want to ask you,
that I don't think are beneficial to anybody.
Yeah, there's obviously a story out about the relationship between Mitch McConnell, the Senate Majority Leader, and President Trump deteriorating. Report in the New York Times that they hadn't spoken to each other in weeks. McConnell privately talking about whether he thinks that the president will be able to salvage his administration after some crises this summer. However, it does feel like and look like those Republican leaders, because they don't, now they're trying to blame President Trump for everything rather than actually pushing through an agenda that would help all Americans. That they don't have to, they can't govern, and they don't have to govern if they can figure out a way to blame the president. So I fault them. I've called out Mitch McConnell relentlessly about not getting Obamacare repeal and replace done, and the very senators who voted against it.
I somewhat agree with that, but I think the president has made it a little more difficult than he needs to by calling some of these people out in public, whether it be Sessions, whether it be Tillerson, whether it be all these people that have come to work for him. He's got to get them behind him, and he's got to do some more work in that area, in my opinion. If you remember Tip O'Neill and Ronald Reagan, they got along. They had their issues, but at the end of the day, they came together to get things done for the country. Right now, we've got a Republican and a Republican that are fighting. That should be fixable. That should be something that shouldn't be a problem when you got a Republican Senate, Republican House, Republican Supreme Court. They shouldn't be fighting amongst themselves like this. They should be able to get, this is as good a speedway as you're going to ever get to launch good things, and they seem to be squandering it, in my opinion. So I don't think the blame is all Senate or McConnell or all Trump, but it's definitely not going in the right direction right now.
And meantime, we're sitting back going, give us our tax reform, give us our jobs, give us our wage growth, give us less regulation. Where's that, buddies?
Totally agree with you. I mean, that's what we've all thought was going to happen. And, we're 7 months in, and they're just squabbling amongst themselves when a good tax cut reform would do a lot for this country.
Bob, thank you so much. Amen. Bob Fleischer, it was great to see you.
Appreciate being here.